Welcome back to Metaladium Pages. It's a great pleasure to talk with you about Phlebotomized, this new album, Clouds of Confusion, and more things related to the metal world. We will start by asking how has the band been during these 5 years? The pandemic perhaps speed up the composition process of this new album?
Yeah, of course, we had the pandemic, but during the pandemic, we also released our EP, Pain, Resistance, Suffering, of course. And yeah, there was actually a bit of strange way of recording it because a couple of songs we didn't even got the chance to rehearse them together. So we went to the studio one by one. And yeah, some of the songs for Clouds of Confusion were already written around that time. But I think over the last 2 years, we finalized those songs and recorded them together last year in August, if I'm correct. So yeah, we're really looking forward for the release. And yeah, it's the 27th of March today, so which means about 2 months left before it will be released.
Okay. Speaking of this new Cloud of Confusion, I see that as you told me, I see that this was preceded by the NEP, called Pain Resistant Suffering 2021. So how do you see that? How do you see that EP compared to this new album? Does this inspiration come from the same set song of songs of that EP, or we are talking about a different approach on the Phlebotomized career?
I think it's a different approach, actually. Also, the sound that Pain Resistant Suffering is a bit different than compared to the new album. But I think it really, the new album, Clouds of Confusion, really fits in our discography, actually. It's actually a collection of all kinds of musical genres. And yeah, yeah, we're really looking forward to release it. I think, of course, you really had a Phlebotomized influence in that album. You can also hear some things about from Deformation of Humanity, for example. So yeah, I hope it's a good extension of what we did so far over the last 5 years.
Okay, and speaking about the singles about the album, usually now the new generation talking about people 30 years, 25 or 15 years, they love to do this kind of playlists into their digital platforms. So if we summarize in one song, which songs capture whole concept of this new Clouds of Confusion?
Well, that's actually a difficult question because you could see Clouds of Confusion as one big concept album. So it's not really that one song is something that I can describe as the whole album. I think it's up to the fans to listen to the album and let's see what they think about it.
Okay. So talking about other aspects in general about the history of the band, etc. Phlebotomized is a band that in the 90s destroyed my brain with the immense, intense, amazing album. I love this album because it was different band from the common denominators of those years. So how was meeting with Phlebotomized before joining the band as a vocalist? Were you in the band in 2013?
I joined actually 1 year later, around 2016, if I'm correct. But when Phlebotomized reunited again, they had another vocalist, Carl. He only stayed with Phlebotomized for a year, but that was also something that they discussed up front, that he would only stay for a year. After that, I joined the band, actually. And yeah, of course, Immense is really, it's an amazing album. That was also a record that I listened to already when Phlebotomized broke up, actually. But speaking of Immense, something that's also nice to mention, when we recorded our album Deformation of Humanity, actually their vocalist Dennis also did some guest vocals on our album Deformation. And that was actually something on my request because I really wanted to do that because yeah, to me that record is also groundbreaking, so for me it was a great opportunity to record a song with Dennis together.
Yes, that's true. This album is amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Clouds of Confusion is the new face of the band, but it's inevitable that many people in the world always have an immense intense suspense in their minds, sky content in their minds. So how does the band fight for a distant presence in a metal world that always think of the early albums as a milestone in the band's career?
Yeah, that's I think it's something because it was in the 90s and Phlebotomized was really something special around the time. They were one of the first Dutch bands, at least, that were using violin and keyboards, which didn't happen that much around that time. There were only a few bands that did that, so it was really special. And of course, going forward today, people are still remembering that album because it was special. But if we speak about Clouds of Confusion, we still try to have some influences from the complete Phlebotomized history, of course. But for some reason, people still recognize Phlebotomized songs, even if it are newer songs. And so I think that's something really nice.
Okay. Speaking of this issue that people keep the first albums of the band in mind, but the band always, but the band always says that their latest words is the best effort to date. This is always a common thing into the bands, and I think you think the same way because you are a fan of the music, or and many bands that influence you. You think that the first album is the great stones of their career because influence you, and at the same time you are with Phlebotomized, and you think that this album is the best effort to date. So, do you think these latest albums of Phlebotomized is the best word to date? And and do you think the best, or perhaps do you think the best word from Phlebotomized come after this cloud of confusion?
Well, I think Clouds of Confusion is with this lineup. Yeah, I think it's the best work we've done so far. And yeah, we really hope that also our fans would like it. It's always something difficult, you know, because we can like it what we wrote, but it's up to the fans to decide if they think it's something nice, a good continuation of Phlebotomized today. So yeah, but with this lineup we're playing now together for I think about 6 years, and of course we recorded Deformation already and Pain Resistant Suffering, and this is actually our second full length in this lineup. So yeah, well, let's see. But I think that's just my opinion. Of course, I can't speak for the rest of the guys, but I think it's one of the best things we did so far. And let's see if something will happen again in the future. That's undecided yet.
Okay, okay. Oh, now you are the part of the band since 2014. You told me, but the band returned in 2013. But according to the information in the web and online is that you entered to the band 2015. So a lot of misconfusion there. So what is your point of view internally as a member and vocalist of the band? How many things changed your point of view about Phlebotomized? Because before you entered to the band, you were a person who listened. You told me that listened a lot of times, immense, intense suspense.
Yeah, indeed. And of course, when I joined the band, actually, they were playing most of the songs from Immense Intense, and also some original members were part of that group. And I think if I look at it now, I also witness a complete lineup change, actually. So from the old group to the new group, and yeah, I think it's a different band now. And of course, we're still playing some old songs, but we try to make a good mix of it. And of course, it's different if you're just listening to a band or join a band eventually. I mean, when I joined Phlebotomized, yeah, I was really happy about it, that they chose me because of my vocals. And of course, everybody always compare my vocals with the first vocalist, of course, and also the second. But I think that's quite normal. I think everybody does that. They always compare you with persons from the past, but that's okay.
Okay, but Phlebotomized has always been a band that pushed its limits, and on each album there is a presence of striking things, and Club's Confusion is not the exception. So how is the compositional process within the band? Do you think that that after drinking from many influence that the band can come out of the sound achieved over the years, or perhaps you think that you think like Yusuf from Dothensgard, or difficult name, or Ben Wende, who told me that the right thing to do is to always respect the ideas from the past. I mean, from the first album, second album.
No, it's not really that we are trying to make a copy of the first records. Actually, I think the music is written. Most of the music is written by Tom. Actually, who was the only original member left, and yeah, he is writing most of the stuff still nowadays, and it just borns naturally, the songs. It's not really that he's looking back to the past to make a copy of what he's already done. It's happened naturally.
Okay, so what do you think of metal fans over 40 years old are always going back in time when it comes to musical tastes? I mean, it's obvious that all our jewels, for me especially because I'm over 40, I'm 43 years old, or were published on those times. So But for many fans of the metal from that age, new albums cannot be surprise for all the majority of persons. So what moves you to continue making music, especially with this new album, knowing that there are many fans that we resist new bands and new releases?
Well, I get your point, of course, that most people eventually always try to look back, especially when they're getting older. But yeah, to answer your question, as long as we enjoy to write music and play with Phlebotomized, that's what keeps us going. You know, there are still people that are interested in Phlebotomized, also when they're over their 40s and they still like to listen to the old stuff. For some reason, they always give Phlebotomized a chance if they release something new. And I think that could be something that drive us to create new music and continue with Phlebotomized.
Mm, yeah. Officially, 10 years has passed since the return of Phlebotomized. How do you see this new era of the band? Will you do something perhaps special for this first 10 years consecutive or return of the Phlebotomized? Or you think like many musicians, they don't focus on 10, 20, or 30 years. They just want to celebrate the new release and promote this new release with live presentations, video tours, etc. Do you feel that the band is now more stronger than the first lineup, than the first 2 years of the band?
Yeah, I think we are stronger now than the first 3 years, of course, because we also know each other much better now. We already recorded some stuff together. We did plenty of gigs, not just in the Netherlands, but also abroad. So as a band, that also makes you stronger, of course. So yeah, that's what I do believe.
Okay, another detail of these new times, that experimentation of inclusions of other styles or abstract tempos in the 90s were different matter because all Phlebotomized at that time was different. Nobody plays like Phlebotomized. But now 30 years have passed since that time where that was rare or weird, no? And now there are many bands in the world that mix anything into their music. So Phlebotomized being a band that in the 90s was one of the few that makes weird things into the metal in times and schemes, etc. A lot happens at that time. So how do you see the excessive idea of continuing to mix everything with everything into the metal? Do you think that this kind of mixing everything saturates the metal world or keeps the metal world healthy?
I think it keeps metal world healthy actually, because it's always nice to also include things from other musical genres, because I think it makes it interesting in my point of view. I mean, we have so many metal genres in general, and yeah, I do believe it could really be a benefit.
Yeah, well, that is true. That's true. And now, what is your opinion about now the metal and the new era of metal? Because as you can see, it's not like 90s, 70s, or 80s. Because now there is a lot of bands coming up every day, each day with singles, EPs, albums, compilations, videos, etc. How do you see this aspect? Now the metal is saturated with a lot of styles, not just experimentation styles, or perhaps we will see another era in metal.
Yeah, it's metal is still going strong. If you're looking nowadays, of course, we can also turn on Spotify, for example, to get notifications of new releases and stuff. And there are so many albums and releases that we can't listen to everything. But I think it's really nice to see that there are still plenty of releases.
Okay. Well, I'm talking about the now again from this new album, returning to this new album. So, Club of Concussion is the new face of the band. But 5 years ago, you released the Formation of Humanity. So, into this aspect, how many differences you encounter in the composition era, into the feelings, into the layers and textures? Perhaps this new album bring us a lot of things more, or perhaps this continue the sound of Phlebotomized over the years.
Of course, you will still hear some influences from Phlebotomized, but not only from the early days, but also from Deformation of Humanity. And yeah, of course, the songs are different from Deformation of Humanity because we just don't want to make a copy of that. We've done that, and now we continued. And yeah, let's see what the people think of it. That's all I can say about it. I try to keep it a bit cryptic in this case.
Okay, okay. Into this aspect, well, as you can see, a lot of reviewers, a lot of fans, they use a lot of tricky styles to put the description of Phlebotomized. As you can see, when you enter to Metal Archives, you see the description, the style of the genre of the style of Phlebotomized is like progressive, avant-garde, doom, black, etc. metal. So they use a lot of words to put their style into the music of the band. No? So as you are a creator of the band, how how do you put the label of the Phlebotomized music? Is a progressive death metal band? Is a avant-garde progressive metal band? Or perhaps it's just more simple, like a lot of musicians told me about when the music is very clear for them. It's just black metal, just death metal, just single word to describe all music, perhaps.
Yeah, I get your point, of course. But if I look at the music, I think Phlebotomized is still an avant-garde progressive death metal band with some doom influences. But we also have influences from other metal genres, or from thrash metal, for example, or maybe even some heavy metal. So, and I think yeah, it's just a name, of course. But yeah, I get it. We do have a lot of progressive and avant-garde influences in our music. So I get the point that people are trying to put that in that box, actually.
Yes, yes. Oh, we are very close to this interview, Ben. And for this aspect, what are the future plans that the band has for these clouds of confusion? Perhaps you will prepare beat-ups of comment, perhaps you will embark in a new tour and Europe or perhaps US, or who knows, a Latin American tour in the near future.
Yeah, we will see what will happen with the album, of course, and of course we are trying to make plans to do more gigs, of course. And yeah, we know we have a lot of fans in Mexico, for example. So yeah, we really do hope to have some Latin American tour someday. So let's see what will happen. But anyway, we're looking forward to our release, and we hope that the fans and also new fans maybe would like the album.
Okay, okay. Well, Ben, the sad times arrive at this interview. I hope you enjoyed this one like me. Well, congratulations on this new Cloud of Confusion. It's a great one. Usually, very difficult to describe the music in just one song. You need to hear all songs to understand what happened internally in all the music. So for this aspect, well, perhaps you want to add something to your Latin American fans. You told me that you had a lot of fans in Mexico. The media from Mexico and Peru, and perhaps and Metalero followers.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, I want to thank you for the interview, of course, and to the people that were watching the interview. Check out our new album.